The story kicks off with a mechanical arm flying in like a high-tech mosquito to inject Kong with a recovery serum. Apparently, in this universe, universal healthcare only exists if you're a 3-story tall ape with a marketing deal. This doesn't just heal him, it turns him into a more powerful King Kong, because clearly the regular version wasn't causing enough property damage. We drop down into a mysterious world, thousands of miles below the Earth's surface, a place where terrifying creatures rule everything, and common sense has apparently gone extinct. Enter our protector or King Kong. He's strolling toward a lake with a small, yellow-haired monkey who is clearly up to no good. Kong, despite being thousands of years old, is walking into a trap like a tourist looking for a cheap buffet. The little monkey senses a massive threat hiding in the lake, but instead of a heads-up, he purposefully goads Kong into the water. It's the ultimate prank, except the punchline involves being eaten. Luckily, Kong isn't as dim as he looks. He catches a scent, probably the smell of a script-mandated ambush, and realizes he's found some good prey. Without saying a word, Kong steps into the lake to bathe, acting all calm while the little monkey starts sweating because his betrayal is failing. Suddenly, a giant dragon lunges out of the water with its jaws open wide. The little monkey bolts for the shore, leaving Kong to deal with his first ever underwater boss fight. The dragon drags Kong deep into the lake, thinking it has the upper hand. Narrator note, it did not. Never pick a fight with a guy whose hobby is ripping things in half. Seconds later, Kong's massive axe lands on the shore, followed by the severed head of the dragon. Kong doesn't even beat the little monkey. He just picks up his weapon and signals the kid to move. It turns out Kong is just lonely. He's been wandering this hollow earth for thousands of years, looking for a friend, which is honestly a bit pathetic for a king. But hey, we've all been there. Life in the hollow earth is basically a constant game of don't get eaten. Kong spends his days being chased by packs of hungry wolves. One day they corner him at a deep gorge. The wolves think they've won, but Kong has apparently spent his free time watching survivalist DIY videos. He's set a trap. As one wolf jumps, it falls into a pit filled with sharp wooden spears. Very Home Alone, but with more gore. Kong then drops a tree trunk on them for good measure. Rocks roll down, smoke clears, and a few surviving wolves still want to go. In a fit of I haven't had breakfast yet rage, Kong grabs a wolf and rips it into 2 pieces. The rest of the pack decides that maybe they aren't that hungry after all and flee. Despite the victory, Kong is miserable. Why? Because he has a rotten tooth. Imagine being a god-tier titan and getting taken down by a cavity. While he's brooding, a lizard steals his snack, but Kong's attention is diverted by a roar in the distance. He thinks, bless his heart, that maybe it's another Kong. He runs toward the sound, only to find a strange frog that's basically a biological prankster, mimicking his roar. The emptiness is breaking him from the inside. Or maybe that's just the tooth decay reaching the nerve. Eventually, the pain gets so bad he has to seek help from the one species he usually steps on. Humans. He enters the human world, collapses on a hill, and waits for a miracle. Scientists spot him, and, because humans are naturally terrified of a giant ape with a toothache, they pump him full of enough anesthesia to knock out a small moon. They call in the city's most famous dentist. I hope this guy has giant primal mammal on his LinkedIn. The dentist ties a steel wire to the rotten tooth, but before the extraction, Kong releases a foul smell from his mouth. Yeah, no kidding. He hasn't brushed since the Pliocene era. A spacecraft, yes, a literal spaceship, is used as a dental tool. It takes off, jerking the tooth right out of Kong's head. When Kong wakes up, he has a shiny new titanium tooth. He feels a surge of power, probably because he can finally chew without crying. But the peace is short-lived. An emergency signal comes from the hollow earth, and a rescue team of scientists decides to follow Kong back into the portal. They enter the mysterious world at high speed, and upon arrival, Kong realizes his food has been stolen. Talk about a bad homecoming. He grabs his axe and heads to a cliff, spotting a blue light inside a deep crack. He jumps into the darkness, because why use a ladder when you can just plummet, and finds glowing stones reacting to his axe. A roar echoes, and he finds a hidden world behind a waterfall. Sensing a dangerous shadow, Kong raises his axe, ready for murder. But the monster turns out to be that same little yellow-haired monkey from earlier. Kong, feeling sentimental, bows and offers a hand in friendship. The monkey's response? He bites Kong. Hard. Talk about a toxic relationship. Kong chases him, but then he stops dead. A massive shadow stands behind him. For the first time, Kong sees a bald gorilla his own size. This isn't a friendly reunion, it's a turf war. 2 other gorillas jump Kong and slam him into the ground. The bald one is smiling, which is a universal sign that things are about to get ugly. Kong has finally found his people, and surprise, they're all jerks. After getting jumped by the bald gorilla's goons, Kong decides he's done playing nice. He realizes these long-armed bullies didn't come for a hug. They came to catch hands. In a fit of rage, Kong hurls a rock at the main gorilla, because apparently, in the Hollow Earth, dodgeball is played with boulders. Kong starts handing out beatdowns like they're on clearance, knocking everyone to the ground. Even the bald leader, who is currently holding Kong's axe, ends up flat on his back like a flipped turtle. Just as Kong goes to reclaim his property, the little yellow monkey, who clearly hasn't learned that biting a titan is a bad life choice, tries to attack Kong's face. Kong catches the little pest midair and, in a move that would get him banned from every professional sports league, uses the child as a literal club to beat the other gorillas. It's effective, albeit a parenting nightmare. The bald leader realizes he's outmatched, gets hit in the head with another one of Kong's signature rocks, and retreats while muttering what I can only assume are gorilla profanities. Kong eventually corners the yellow monkey, slams him into the dirt for good measure, and picks up a drop knife. He signals the kid to lead him to their hideout. Out of pure, please don't kill me necessity, the monkey becomes a reluctant tour guide. As they trek deeper, the scenery gets prettier, but the neighbours are getting worse. The little monkey, still trying to be a mastermind, leads Kong into a giant dragon's den. He's hoping the dragon will do his dirty work, but he forgot he's travelling with the guy who just got a titanium upgrade. Kong finishes off the dragon in record time, and then has the audacity to sit down and eat it right there. Seeing Kong feast, the starving monkey starts looking at the meat with puppy dog eyes. Kong, showing a rare moment of Father of the Year energy, breaks off a piece and offers it. The monkey is hesitant, probably wondering if it's seasoned with betrayal. Kong loses his patience, tosses the meat on the ground, and basically tells him, eat it or go to hell. The monkey digs in, and suddenly his perspective shifts. He realizes Kong isn't a monster. He's just a guy who's really good at murder. They share a peaceful moment, looking like a weirdly aggressive father-son duo, completely unaware that the plot is about to thicken. They reach the heart of the gorilla colony, and Kong's heart, what's left of it, breaks. His kind are living in a literal labour camp. They're being forced into hard labour, breaking rocks and probably their spirits too. It's a prehistoric sweatshop. When a guard starts beating an old monkey for dropping a stone, Kong snaps. He slams his axe down, saves the old-timer, and stares down the guard. His courage starts a ripple of hope through the oppressed monkeys, but the fun is cut short. The bald snitch from earlier has told everything to the big boss, SKar King. SKar King rises from his throne with all the grace of a villain who knows he has the best theme music. Every monkey bows, but Kong stays standing because he doesn't do submission. SKar King spots Kong's shiny metal tooth and laughs. Big mistake. To prove he's the ultimate jerk, SKar King kicks a random monkey into glowing lava just for the vibes. Kong's anger hits a boiling point. SKar King pulls a whip-like weapon from his shoulder, and the 2 heavyweights finally square off. Using his long-reach weapon, SKar King keeps Kong off balance. Kong is stronger, but SKar King is fighting like he's in a gymnastics competition, landing blows and retreating. Kong eventually loses his grip on his axe. Seizing the moment, SKar King wraps his weapon around Kong's neck, thinking he's won the title wrong. Kong uses his pure, unadulterated ape strength to lift the king and slam him into the pavement. SKar King realizes he's losing the physical fight, so he cheats. He signals his secret weapon. The ground turns to ice, the temperature drops, and out comes Titan Shimo, a creature so powerful it once caused the Ice Age. Basically, SKar King brought a nuclear-powered freezer to a fistfight. Shimo looks miserable being controlled, but under SKar King's orders, he unleashes a blast of pure frost. Kong tries to block it with his axe, but his right hand starts freezing solid. Injured and outgunned, Kong is forced to run. The little monkey points toward a tunnel, and Kong bolts. But he's not alone. Hundreds of SKar King's lackeys are hot on his heels. Kong is hurt, weak, and surrounded in a dead end. He tries to activate one last jungle trap, but the monkeys have finally developed 2 brain cells and spot the tripwire. Kong thinks it's game over. Suddenly, the trap triggers anyway. Hundreds of tons of rocks flatten the pursuing monkeys. Kong looks up and sees the little yellow monkey standing by the lever. The kid finally picked a side, and it wasn't the one with the lava-kicking king. Kong is currently a mess. He's badly injured. His hand is a popsicle, and he's limping back toward the humans with his new sidekick, the yellow monkey, acting as a living crutch. He doesn't realize he's being followed by a survivor from the rock slide, because apparently, in this movie, nobody ever checks their rearview mirror. Meanwhile, the scientists have discovered that their base is a pile of toothpicks. They find a giant handprint on a cliff and conclude that there are more Kongs out there. Great detective work, guys. The giant roaring wasn't a big enough hint. They stumble upon a hidden device in the forest. One of the humans presses a button, because that's always a safe move in a monster-filled subterranean world, and water starts flowing, leading them to a magical, invisible wall. It's like a prehistoric force field. When they touch it, a blue glow ripples through, revealing a world so beautiful it looks like a screensaver. Behind the wall lives a tribe of people who haven't seen a barber or a tax collector in thousands of years. These are the protectors of the portal that connects to the surface world. It turns out SKar King has been looking for this hidden city for ages, so he can take his monkey business to the surface and conquer humanity. Kong arrives at the wall, but because he's a giant and the wall is invisible, he's basically just staring at a very pretty cliffside. The tribe opens a crack in the magical barrier, and Kong stumbles in before collapsing. The dude is spent. His hand is a shredded mess of frostbite and failure. The scientists decide that standard first aid isn't going to cut it. They need to go full cyberpunk. They remember they have a prototype super mechanical arm, Project Powerhouse, sitting in an underground storage unit back at the destroyed base. Why they left a multi-billion-dollar bionic limb in a shed is anyone's guess, but they fetch it and drop it over Kong's body. The machine, which clearly has better AI than most of the humans in this script, automatically attaches itself to Kong's arm. As the special medicine, let's call it Titan Strength ibuprofen, hits his system, Kong's face lights up. He's got a new toy, and it's shiny. But the celebration is cut short when the little monkey runs in with the bad news. SKar King and his pet lizard, Shimo, have found the portal. Kong knows he can't win a 2-on-1 handicap match, so he decides to go back to the surface to wake up the one guy who loves a good scrap, Godzilla. We cut to the surface, where a mechanical hand punches through the ground near a pyramid. Kong emerges looking for his frenemy. Godzilla, who is having a perfectly good nap, feels Kong's presence and decides that today is a good day for violence. He doesn't want to hear an explanation. He doesn't want to see the new bionic arm. He just wants to tackle the big ape. Godzilla lunges at full speed, eyes glowing with the kind of rage usually reserved for people who spoil movies online. Kong tries to wave his hands like, "Wait bro, let me explain." But Godzilla isn't in a talking mood. He slams into Kong, sending him flying hundreds of meters. Kong tries a sneak attack to calm him down, but that just makes Godzilla more furious. Godzilla grabs Kong's bionic hand in his jaws and slams him into the dirt until Kong is seeing stars. When diplomacy fails, Kong finally uses the mechanical arm to deliver a counterpunch. With the power of human engineering, Kong is finally holding his own against the king of the monsters. Realizing he can't actually beat Godzilla into submission, Kong grabs the giant lizard and starts dragging him toward the portal like a parent dragging a toddler out of a toy store. On the other side, the tribe members are getting desperate. They start mixing a red liquid into the water to activate a gravity-defying system. The plan is to join two giant pyramids together to turn off gravity, making it impossible for SKar King's army to walk. It's a solid plan, right up until SKar King shows up and tells Shimo to freeze the pyramids in place. Just as things look hopeless, a bright light explodes from the portal. Godzilla and Kong burst through the debris like they're entering a wrestling ring. Godzilla takes one look at Shimo and SKar King and finally puts two and two together. He realizes Kong didn't come to fight him. He came to recruit him for a tag team match. The four titans clash just as the ice breaks and the pyramids collide, sending everyone and everything floating into the air. Physics has officially left the building. As the pyramids lock into place, gravity decides to take a coffee break. And suddenly our four heavyweight contenders are drifting around like giant angry balloons. You'd think being weightless would make you reconsider your life choices, but not these guys. Godzilla is out here dodging ice blasts and maneuvering through the air with more grace than a radioactive lizard has any right to have. He's laser-focused on Shimo, who is still stuck in the reluctant minion phase of the movie. Meanwhile, the SKar King, who is a total gear thief, picks up Kong's discarded axe and tries to use it against him. Bad move. Kong just blocks every swing with his new mechanical arm like he's swatting away a fly. It turns out that when you have a $1 billion bionic gauntlet, a regular old axe feels a bit last season. Kong starts absolutely clinicalizing the SKar King in the air. Right then, the anti-gravity system decides it's done, and everyone comes crashing back down to Earth, literally. The SKar King emerges from the portal, sees the open sky, and lets out a roar that basically says, "I'm the captain now." He orders Shimo to start an artificial ice age, and the poor lizard starts raining frost on the local architecture. Buildings are crumbling, people are screaming, and the SKar King is feeling himself. But his ego trip lasts exactly 5 seconds. Kong lands on the scene and delivers a punch so powerful it knocks a 3-ton tooth right out of the SKar King's mouth. That's for the lava kicking, buddy. The SKar King, now missing a tooth and his dignity, orders Shimo to finish Kong off. While the two titans are tangled up, Shimo starts freezing Kong's mechanical arm. It's a tense moment until the SKar King notices a purple glow behind him. Godzilla has arrived, and he is fully charged. His entire body is pulsing with purple energy, looking like a neon sign for imminent doom. He launches a direct atomic blast at the SKar King, who barely manages to dive out of the way. The king tries to counter with his crystal-tipped whip, but Godzilla catches it midair and snaps it like a dry twig. The crystal, the one thing keeping Shimo under the SKar King's thumb, goes flying. Now the movie turns into a high-stakes game of keep away. Every giant monster in a 5-mile radius is lunging for that crystal. Whoever gets it controls the ice dragon, and whoever controls the ice dragon wins the world. The SKar King is scrambling for it, but Godzilla is making sure he doesn't have a clear path. Back in the hollow earth, the little monkey sees the axe Kong left behind. He knows what needs to be done. He grabs the weapon and dives into the portal, heading for the surface for one last heroic play. The climax of this prehistoric soap opera has moved to the surface, and honestly, the SKar King's plan is falling apart faster than a cheap umbrella in a hurricane. Everything currently hinges on that glowing crystal. Whoever grabs it gets to be Shimo's remote control, and the SKar King is lunging for it with the desperation of a guy who just dropped his phone in a sewer. Just as the SKar King thinks he's about to reclaim his power, our tiny MVP, the yellow monkey, enters the chat. Having grabbed Kong's abandoned axe from the hollow earth, he leaps through the portal and lands in the middle of the human world. He doesn't hesitate. He sees the crystal lying on the ground and brings the axe down with a single satisfying blow. Crunch. The crystal is history, and with it, the SKar King's dental plan dictatorship officially expires. Suddenly, Shimo's eyes clear up. After thousands of years of being a magical space heater for a jerk, the ice dragon is finally free. The SKar King, realizing his leverage is gone, enters a full-blown, "If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me" rage. He tries to lunge at the little monkey, but Kong isn't having it. Kong steps in, catches the king in midair, and starts delivering a series of punches that would make a heavyweight boxer retire on the spot. He pins the orange bully to the ground, and it's clear. Without the crystal, the SKar King is just a skinny gorilla with a bad attitude. On the other side of the battlefield, Shimo looks over at Godzilla. There's a moment of silent communication, the kind of look you give a coworker when you've both decided the boss needs to go. Godzilla gives the okay, and Shimo finally does what he's wanted to do for eons. He turns his frost breath on his former master. In a matter of seconds, the SKar King goes from a screaming menace to a giant orange popsicle. Kong doesn't miss a beat. He picks up the frozen statue of the king and tosses him high into the air. When he hits the ground, Kong follows up with a massive slam that shatters the frozen villain into 1,000 tiny pieces. It's a cold end for a cold-hearted ruler. With the threat extinguished, Godzilla decides he's done enough cardio for the decade. He lets out one last roar, probably just to remind everyone who the real boss is, and heads back to his territory to fall into another deep, radioactive sleep. Honestly, the guy deserves a nap. Kong, meanwhile, doesn't stick around to sign autographs for the humans. He heads back through the portal to the Hollow Earth, but this time he isn't alone. He's got his new little companion by his side, and more importantly, he has the respect of the other gorillas. He returns as the leader they actually deserve, one who uses his bionic hand to help rather than his feet to kick people into lava. The story wraps up with Kong finally finding the family and the home he's been searching for since the beginning. It only took a titanium tooth, a mechanical arm, a global ice threat, and a very brave little monkey to get him there.